Today we are making this absolutely delicious vegetarian bolognese. It is so hearty and flavorful that it will quickly become everyone's favorite, vegetarian or not, because I am here to help you make meatless meals that everyone will love. Let's get started. We're gonna use our food processor to pulse together first the mirepoix. So we're gonna start, that's basically just onion, celery, and carrot mixture, but we're using an onion and a shallot. I recommend one small of each, but this is quite a large onion, so I am gonna weigh them. You want about 210 grams of the onion mixture. So I'm just gonna cut this in half. We've got about 220 and we're just gonna call that good. It doesn't need to be exact. So we'll go ahead and just take the peels off of these. And then I just cut it into some bigger chunks so it pulses together easily. So throw that in there. We'll get the shallot going. And if you don't want to use a shallot, you can just add some extra yellow onion. And then that side. And then similarly with the carrot and the celery, we'll just chop them into bigger chunks. Toss them in. Okay. And then we'll pulse it together until it is pretty uniform in size. We don't want it totally pureed, but kind of close. You can see it's pretty finely diced, so that's exactly what we want. With this mirepoix mixture and the cauliflower that we're gonna pulse up are kind of gonna give it the texture of the meat in our sauce. So think about that when you are blending them together. We are gonna pulse together the cauliflower in it next. For this, you want about 270 grams. And a kitchen scale is really handy for this recipe just to make sure that the amounts aren't off too much. I have a really affordable one here that I will link for you below. And 270 isn't that much. This is actually 400 grams worth. Okay, we've got about 295 grams here, which is totally fine. It does not have to be exactly 270, and a little more won't hurt. So break it up into larger florets. Again, just so it pulses more evenly. Doesn't take as long. So we're gonna go for that similar texture of kind of like ground meat. Because cauliflower is kind of naturally crumbly like that, it only takes a few pulses. There we go. Nice and finely chopped. The only prep left to do is to mince the garlic and chop some herbs. So we're gonna use 6 garlic cloves. Definitely, this is a recipe where more garlic is better. And you know it, we're using my handy dandy garlic press. We'll just squeeze them on in. Okay. And grab your rosemary stem, hold it at the top, and then go ahead and pull down to remove the leaves off of the stem. And then the top, you can just pluck them off. You'll need about a tablespoon of the rosemary and the thyme, but this is one of those things that you really can't go wrong if you want to add a little more. Okay, and we're just gonna do the thyme. Very similar, hold the stem, pull down, and those little leaves come right off. Okay, now we will give it a nice chop. Okay, we're ready to make the sauce. Go ahead and heat up some olive oil. I recommend using a Dutch oven or an enamel pan. If you do use a stainless steel stock pot, be careful because sometimes they can react with the tomatoes and leave like a bitter metallic taste. So once the oil is shimmering and hot, we're gonna go ahead and add our mirepoix mixture first. Listen to that sizzle. Whew. We're gonna add a pinch of salt here too to begin layering in the flavor. And let it saute for about 4 to 5 minutes to really develop a nice flavor. Okay. Now let's add our garlic in. Give it a minute to get fragrant. Okay, and then we'll put in our chopped herbs, a pinch of red pepper flakes, a generous pinch, another pinch of salt. Give this a good stir. And once it's combined, let's add in our cauliflower. Get that all stirred together now. And then this will cook down for a few minutes so that cauliflower gets nice and tender. And then we'll let it simmer for just a few minutes. Next up, we're gonna add our tomato paste. So just a 6-ounce can of this. Make it nice and really rich. Give it a good stir and then let it cook down for 1 minute. Next, we will deglaze the pan with some red wine. Scrape up any browned bits that are on the bottom. And if you can't use alcohol for whatever reason, you can substitute some extra vegetable stock. All right, once it's incorporated, go ahead and let it reduce down for about a minute or two. We'll just create this really nice depth of flavor to our sauce base. Now for our flavor boosters, we're starting with some Worcestershire sauce. Make sure you grab a variety that is specifically vegetarian if you need to. You could also use soy sauce. We're also going to use some bouillon, about a half tablespoon. This just really amps up the richness. And we're gonna add in some green lentils. They add extra hardiness. And then the real fun part is we are going to crush some whole tomatoes. So these are San Marzano tomatoes. They're the best you can get. And I like to grab the whole tomato, just like this, and crush it in my hand, because if there is a really hard stem part, then I can get it out and it's not in my sauce. So really, you can just smash it in your hand, just like that. If you're crushing them in your hands, you'll know what I'm talking about, but this kind of has that hard, stem to it. So I am going to just discard this. Now, in every can, that there isn't necessarily that. So if you'd prefer to just smash them with your spoon, you can do that too, but this is quite the fun sensory experience, so have at it, is what I say. And then the extra tomato sauce in there, go ahead and add it too. And if you're using your hands, they're the best tool you've got. Scrape it out. All right, I'm gonna go wash my hands before we continue on. All right, now last step is we're gonna add our vegetable broth. So with everything in, just stir it to combine. So then bring it to a simmer while it is covered here, and we'll let it do its thing for about 25 minutes before our next step. Oh, and don't forget to add the bay leaf. All right, this has been simmering for about 25 to 30 minutes. You could let it keep going for about an hour to an hour and a half to really let those flavors develop. The good news is that the lentils keep this really lovely texture to them and they don't get mushy even if you simmer it longer. All right, let's take a peek. Oh yeah, look at that. It smells so good too. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're not ready yet though. So the next step is to add a little milk. You could also use half and half if you want to make it really luxurious. And now for the next about 15 minutes, we are going to let this simmer away without the lid on this time, so it's gonna get really nice and thick. As this simmers, we're gonna start a pot of boiling water to cook the pasta, and be sure to reserve about a half cup of pasta water to add to the sauce when we're done. You may or may not need it, but it's much better to have it. The final touches start with taking out the bay leaf. We don't want to forget that in there. Add in about 2 tablespoons of butter. And some freshly chopped parsley for some good brightness and color. Let that butter melt into the sauce. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Now, all that's left to do is to toss the sauce with the noodles and add pasta water if we need to. But my Dutch oven is a little too small to do all of that together. So we're gonna transfer it to a much larger stock pot that I have. Oh, so painless. That was some good luck. Okay, and stir it together. Once it's combined, take note of how thick you want your sauce. Sometimes I honestly just leave it as is without adding any pasta water, but the pasta water will help the sauce really adhere to the pasta itself, and it really just makes it nice and luxurious. So we're gonna start, just add a little bit, and you can continue to add more as you'd like. I only go up to about a half cup added, and keep it on low so then it all really works together with that heat. I could just eat it straight out of this. Now it's time to serve it up. And now for the best part, we get to taste test. It has been smelling so good in here. Oops, oh my goodness. This sauce, those lentils have the perfect texture, and those herbs, oh my goodness, it is just, they're so cozy and comforting. Everyone is gonna love this. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with your friends. I will see you back here next week for another meatless meal that everyone will love. Trust me on that. Until then, happy eating. That's so good. Perfect. We are going to start our we're gonna get real messy. Okay. Let me please start over. Be alive.